Right. Welcome to Sim Racing Show on the Road, here with GamerMuscle, sim racing experts. In fact, what's your official title?
THOUGTS.
Dr. Sim Racing.
Sim Racing.
Why isn't there a
expert.
Dr. Sim Racing?
There already is, isn't there?
Okay.
Go and subscribe to Dr. Sim Racing.
And we've just been at Sim Formula Europe, which is one of my favourite sim formulas. I think my list is probably Sim Formula Europe, Sim Formula Antarctica, Sim Formula Asia. What's your ranking of sim formulas?
Sim Formula Atlantic.
Okay.
Would be
That's
mine.
the one under the water, isn't it?
Yeah. Everyone has to turn up in wetsuits.
Yeah, I like that one.
The sim rigs all sink.
So, Assetto Corsa EVO?
Assetto Gran Turismo Forza Evo.
Assetto Corsa EVO has just come out.
Yeah.
We obviously just flew away or took a train away as soon as it came out because we were scared of it. But we have both played it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts on Evo?
Yeah.
The breakdown. So I think Kunos are going to make a hell of a lot of money out of it. I think the early access was too premature. It's too early because I think early access can obviously lack features, but I think because it's got pretty big graphics issues and a lot of bugs and stuff, we should expect. But I think early access should be a bit better. But I think it looks like it's got good enough physics. Some aspects of physics are really nice, some debatable. It's interesting that I have all the road cars and everything. Conceptually, it's really nice, but it's too early to really properly evaluate it.
If it's too early to properly evaluate, I wonder if that means it's actually really too early. Like, we're not meant to be like, I'm going to go a bit, I really enjoy the game actually, but I'm just going to go a bit I don't think we should be paying to really fund the game. I'm not sure we are really paying to fund the game in a way, but I wonder if there was a expectation on their part where they thought the game was going to be further ahead or not. But I think, and this may just end up in the wash anyway in a few updates time where this is all fixed. I think it probably will be. But I wonder if leading up to launch, if they'd announced the price, right?
Yeah.
And maybe done some example footage of, look, this is a configuration, this is someone on a 3060 with this CPU, this is a frame rate you can expect.
Yeah.
I think the argument against that is that you can just refund it if you don't like it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that says the whole story because people have been really excited for it. People have built machines for it. People have understood that it was going to be more of a fully featured game than it was because we didn't really know until it launched. And also the price is what a lot of people pay for sim racing games. Because if you want to buy ACC, you're probably buying it at that price or cheaper, like notwithstanding the age. So, but I think it will come out in the wash because I think all the updates are going to come pretty thick and fast. But I just wonder if they will have lost a little bit of reputational shine.
Yeah. So I think you could have like a 3-hour conversation about this. There's so many aspects and sort of avenues to approach that. So I think the expectations that they set through their promotional material were too high expectations for people coming into it. So people had higher expectations than what was actually delivered. So that will obviously be a disconnect there and that'll upset people. That's one thing. I think ultimately the early access price is fine. Kunos, you trust them, they're going to develop it. So, whatever, you make your mind up and you can refund and stuff. So it's not evil or anything. Yeah. But then actually, I ultimately...
But you can't refund it if you bought it through a key reseller.
No, not
or Humble.
That's true.
And I think a lot of people who are really price sensitive.
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
We're YouTube creators, so we're going to get this game. But me, 5-6 years ago, I would have been really price sensitive about it, and I may have gone to a key reseller or something. I don't know. So that's a caveat there. That's
a good point. But we got food coming now. There we go.
So now we can prove it is a real environment.
It's real. There you go.
That's all right.
Some bread. Thank you.
Okay.
There's 2 planks, so I give you guys to play.
Oh, it's 2 planks?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's double plank.
We're double planking.
Should we put the plank in front of the camera?
We've got mega plank.
Normally YouTubers do like sponsored integrations. What? This is actually just a break for just food.
Plank.
Yeah. Look at this.
You can just about see it. Got bacon, croissants. I'm just worried if I lift it, it's gonna...
I'll lift this. Do you want to lift to show?
This is what a team plank. Hang on, I'm gonna have to... There you go. There's the plank.
Yeah. I got a comment the other day saying, do you even bench? And now I can say, well, actually, I plank.
Yeah.
Not what they had in mind.
The other thing, so what I do think though, there's no way that a developer... That's all right.
Okay, so that's Assetto Corsa EVO. So we both, I think it's going to get better.
Yeah, it's Evo's going to get better. YouTube is going to keep covering every update. I think it's going to ultimately sell really well. The early access probably. The expectation that it was going to be much better than it actually was. So there's an expectation mismatch. I think ultimately it'll end up being pretty great.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, you know.
What do you think it means for early access sim racing going forward? Is it going to be just a very high level of cynicism now?
It's in sim racing.
Yeah, for early access sim racing.
I think there already is.
There wasn't enough for there was still a expectation mismatch with Evo.
Yeah.
But do you think now the next sim racing game that comes out, Project 4, whatever, Street 6, that a GT Revival, that if and when that comes out in early access, again, are people going to be like, or is there just no risk? You buy it through Steam. Is it actually a way that incentivizes us to buy through Steam and pay more to the developer because you get your refund rights?
Yeah. And then if you don't like it after 2 hours of playing, you can refund it.
Yeah.
And Steam generally honour that.
I mean, I bought Test Drive Unlimited last year. Didn't go great.
Well,
Le Mans Ultimate on launch, I don't think it was great. I think it's pretty good now. So we've got Tokyo Extreme Racer coming out in a couple of weeks. Not really a sim racing game, but that's also early access. Are you sure? Can you let us know in the comments if this is how you meant to... I think I've got a knife and I'm going to use it. Anything else, GameMuscle, that you... What are you playing at the moment? What are you liking? Are you going to stop playing original AC, or is the mods a deal breaker for you there? Or?
Because I would have to leave early and leave everyone going for a beer.
I think original AC is just it's so like there's so much content, so much stuff there. Seemingly still has way better force feedback detail than a lot of titles.
Yeah.
It's always going to be like how Richard Burns Rally is. I think it's just going to linger on. It's almost like an illegal open source simulator, and I think it's going to just get more and more ridiculous. But that will push it into a niche of like only super nerdy mega sim racers use it. And it's not easy to access. It gets more and more complicated as even more random stuff happens to it. But I think it will sort of linger on for a long time.
Do you think Kunos will see it as competition to Evo and therefore be incentivized to sort of slow it down? Or
no, I don't think so, because ultimately most of the sales are on console, and whenever it comes out on console, it's just a completely different game, and it's a completely different marketplace really. So. Don't think they care, and they'll still make money off every sale of AC that goes forwards.
Let's switch gears, literally, talk about iRacing. So there's a Daytona 24 Hours this weekend. Max Verstappen was in it. The leading car in the top split got disqualified. They won the race and then they got disqualified because apparently they were going to have a crash. Obviously in iRacing that means tow back to the pits, lengthy repairs, potentially a slower car all the way through. But apparently they did an Alt F4 to disconnect, which means you don't get the damage.
Okay.
You get a tow back to the pits.
Yeah.
And they have been disqualified.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that? Is that cheating or?
What's interesting is where you end up with that conversation of where does the cheating occur? Are you? So it's that interpretation of, are you unfairly bending the rules, or are you actually maximally bending the rules as an expectation of that's the game?
Yeah.
So the rules haven't been defined and you're exploiting that. So what's the term called if everyone's doing stuff because they all think they're playing the same game, and then someone disingenuously there's a word for it. I can't remember what it's called.
I think it's the same point, but the disconnect rule is there to protect unfair disconnects and to give them a chance to not be unfairly penalised. Because you could say with unfair disconnects, that's it, you can't rejoin the race, for example. So if someone starts if everyone were to bend the rules there, they'd have to change the disconnect rule. It would just be abused, and therefore it would no longer be the safety net for people who have an unfair disconnection. So I think that's why they've been quite hard on it. Part of the reason.
I think it's one of those things where you could argue either way. The problem is with anything that's complicated, it's impossible to preemptively define every single possibility.
Yeah.
It's just logistically impossible. And so then you need a rule where you go, okay, there will be some things that maybe can be exploited. We don't know what they are yet, but we have a panel that then goes, look, is that seemingly, if you do that exploit, or you come up with an exploit and it's really outside the bounds, that panel is quite likely to then end up disqualifying you if you do that.
Yeah.
So you're aware of that, so that then what players would all then do is go, well, okay, this is actually quite a novel thing that we're doing here, so it's quite likely that we would get into trouble. And that's how it then becomes fair again, because everyone is under the same umbrella of expectation.
I think it's like it's interesting that in Formula One these things happen all the time as well. So I don't think it's a bad thing in itself. It happens to sim racing. It shows everyone's really pushing the boundaries. I mean, we saw Williams Esport in Daytona a few years ago doing a thing. They're running on the grass or running inside the apron and things like that. They're going to push the boundaries, and sometimes you've got to find out after where the line is.
It is interesting, like that whole Schumacher era. I mean, even the Schumacher pit stop, finishing the race, and it's like. So the thing is, as a spectator, I think it's amazing. I love stuff like that because it's just creative.
And
it's
invites debate as well.
Yeah, it's a randomisation.
Yeah.
As a competitor, it could be massively frustrating because you're like, well, we're following the rules, they're not following the rules.
We thought about doing that, but we decided not to because
Yeah. So not like it. Not like this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So it depends which angle you're coming at it from. You know, it is what it is. I could see both any side that's aggrieved or not aggrieved, either have valid views, and I'm sure you could debate it indefinitely.
All right, let's finish off then. Top 3 sim racing games of 2025 prediction by the end of the year.
Hang on. Top 3 racing sims by 2025.
By end of year, and then we'll revisit it.
Richard Burns Rally. Don't they have to be new?
They don't have to be neat.
No. Richard Burns Rally is just going to stay as the top thing. That's it. You have to. Nothing is improved. No. What do you mean? Do you mean from my subjective view, or do you mean commercially?
Your subjective view.
Um,
What are you going to be your favourite?
Top 3. Well, so weirdly, I think if iRacing actually do nail their time model, so it doesn't have that over the limit issue, that would, with its feature set, the online competition, and fantastic, thank you. With how it all works, if they actually ever do that, then I think that put iRacing really, really high up. Evo, I think, is potentially really interesting. I like the idea of it. I like the content. I think it could be fun. I'm actually quite interested in the new Wreckfest game. Really like to see BeamNG stuff that's improving with BeamNG. Like maybe they're going to do some new tyre stuff. Who knows? Or like improvements. I just really like how that is. It's just fun. It'll be interesting to see what happens with AC and further mods with AC. But yeah, it's really hard to like lay it down to top 3. LMU, if that more development on that.
It's difficult, but if there's someone new in sim racing or wants to step up, and what am I going to spend my $40 on? It's a very valid question. It doesn't matter, it's difficult, it's a very valid question.
To be honest, if you were like new to sim racing,
Gran Turismo.
Well, if they're doing a new Gran Turismo soon.
I assume they will at some point.
Evo, I think this is why I think it's going to make hundreds of millions.
The entry point.
It's that perfect bridge simulator. I'm not saying it's unrealistic. The physics unrealistic, or it's arcadey. It's just in terms of if they polish it and everything, it presumably would have the feature set there, the online stuff, being able to race people, road cars, cruising. You know, it's what I think. It might not please everyone, but it would please most people enough.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you'd end up recommending it.
Yeah. I agree. I think Evo could be the best. Could be like. I think it could be Evo is more like a single player focused game, and you have iRacing as a multiplayer focused game, and that could be really quite dominating. And I struggle to see where games like Le Mans Ultimate, Rennsport, whatever this Project Revival is, where they're going to fit in amongst that, because I think these could be 2 absolute juggernauts. That's my feeling. He agrees with it. Lots of nodding.
It's my eating. What I would say though, right, at Sim Formula Europe that we were just at, the simulator that's being developed by Marcel Opperman's The Last Garage, that drives really nicely. Feels great. The force feedback was really nice. I don't think it's going to release in any form in the next year or 2 years or something. It's more like it's a really interesting development project, and but from a hardcore sim perspective of like. More like back in the 90s and early 2000s where you have a crazy physics programmer that's building something because they're just insane. And from that you get a piece of like simulation art that's not commercially motivated. That Last Garage is like one of the more interesting titles from a hardcore pure simulation perspective, I think. But it's a shame that it's not coming out at the end of 2025. So
We think. All right, well, there we go. That's an interesting one. Maybe one to think about for the future. We'll have to revisit at the end of the year. And when it turns out that Rennsport is just everyone's favourite sim, we'll be very wrong.
Well, I would like Rennsport to do well, though.
Yeah.
I'd like it to come out on console and PC. I actually quite like the idea of some aspects of the car ownership. Just a jump-in multiplayer game that's well structured. I actually quite like how it drives. I wouldn't say it's the most realistic, but actually quite weirdly I enjoy how it drives.
Yeah, I enjoy the multiplayer in it. I don't like the car ownership thing. I think the car ownership and progression is something that everyone's wrestling with. Even with Evo, the launch was meant to have real car progression in it, and it's a real shame that we didn't see that, because I think that was a rare moment where we would have seen actual sort of car. We saw it in Gran Turismo when it launches, because you start at the same point. But there's no other game, racing game, on the sim side that has that sort of like has nailed the car progression.
Yeah.
And they were coming at it from a different angle. I think they were coming at it more from we can monetize this really. And I think it's really confused their messaging now about cars are free. What does a free car mean? What's not a free car? They're obviously going to have to revisit it. There is something about the connection between the feeling of having a car in real life, and then can you translate that to owning a car in a sim?
Yeah.
And also off the back of that, I really want to understand my car in a sim, and I want to tune it, and I want to spend modifications on it, rather than hop between like 100 different cars. So there's something there, but I don't think anyone's cracked that code yet. Arguably the closest thing, which is probably not too dissimilar to Rennsport, is iRacing. It's like, okay, I'm going to spend $13 on the car. I bought it, I've spent money on it, I'm going to now race this a lot, and I'm going to understand the car. That's the closest thing, and it is monetized. So I can see why other people are looking at it. But there's no one else that can really justify that high price per car, because most of them are bundled. But it was Rennsport that was like, okay, well, we're going to do these, and then you bring in the unique aspect. So we will see. That's another video, I think.
Do you know what? It just made me think of something. Is that I actually think there's a really huge amount of apathy towards sim games just not being polished. And like, so you can have all these game mechanics, car ownership, microtransactions, features, Nordschleife for touring, whatever, all this stuff. That's fantastic, great.
Yeah.
However, I actually think if a developer released, if you had a game that was passable physics, and you released it, but it's just polished, and you go, here it is, here's a basic single player with AI that's kind of okay to race against. Here's the basic multiplayer that kind of just basically works to a degree that you would have had in a sort of 2000s type video game release. Less features, maybe not the best graphics, but it's just polished. I think that would there's an opportunity there for.
Maybe it's a big bet. We'll see. I mean, Tokyo Extreme Race is not a sim racer, but it's looking very polished. That comes out next week, I think, so we will see. But yeah, right, let us know. Lots of controversial opinions there. So let us know what you think in the comments. Hi.